Welcome to Paul's Toolbox. Today I'm going to be covering vanity cabinets, and I'm going to install these Shaker Java cabinets, or Java Shaker by US Cabinet Depot. These are really nice all-wood cabinets. What I'm going to do is show you an easy way to make everything perfect, to get all your plumbing aligned and get your cabinets level. And there's a simple way to do it. Anybody can do this if you just know how. Let's get on it. These are vanity cabinets, but they're called kitchen height vanity cabinets, or extended height. What they're doing now is going with taller cabinets. So, this 34.5-inch cabinet right here is going to go up against the wall. I cut this at 34.5 inches. If I set it next to my cabinet, it's exactly flush with it. Always use a good quality level. This is a level by Swanson Tool Company. It has a light in it. These are great levels. This is my 4-foot level by Swanson. They make the best levels on the market, and that's all I use when I'm installing my cabinets. Next, you're going to want to take your stick, set it on the wall, and mark your lines. This is 34.5 inches, the same height as your cabinet. I'll mark a line, one on the end, one in the middle if you want to, and one on the end on this side. Then you're going to come on this corner over to here and mark a line. You'll take it, set it down here, mark your line on this side. Now you know that if this slab is even, everything's going to fall right. Next thing you have to do is take your level, set it up on the wall, line it up with your marks. If you see on any of these that the mark is up above where your level is, then you have to raise it. Raise it to your high point. Now this is my high point in this case. You take it and mark my line level from my highest point over. Then you're going to take this and see which one is higher from this side to that side. This side is a little bit higher than this one, so I'm good. Once you see you have a low spot, you want to move it in different places and see if you're over that line. If you're not over that line, you're good. I'll come all the way across. Okay, this is all above. This is my highest point. This is my lowest point. That's good. And it's really not far off at all. The slab's pretty straight. What I'm going to do next is take a shim and put on the bottom here on my floor and raise that to the height I need to raise it to get this level. That way when I set my cabinet on top of that shim, it's going to line up with this. We have our level line right here across the back. We know the height of our cabinets from the back. Everything's fine there. We put our shims. Now all we have to do is set our cabinet on top of there, and we know it's going to line up. The next step is to get our spacing from here so I can measure off from my pipes. That's simple. I have a 1-inch filler that's going to go on the side of this cabinet. I'm matching the other side because the other side has a 1-inch filler. This doesn't have a frame to hit, but I want it balanced. I hate to put a 2-inch filler on one side and nothing on the other. If I have 2 inches left over, I'm going to put an inch over there and an inch over here. Try to balance it out if you can. Every once in a while you can't, but in this situation it's easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. Attaching this only takes a minute. What you'll do is take your filler and put it up against the face, making sure you have it really flush against the face. And you're going to squeeze this tight. I take the doors off to do this because you want to get the clamp in here. Make sure you get it lined up all the way from the top to the bottom. I'm not going to put my screw from this side. I'm going to go ahead and put it from there because all I need is an 1 5/8 screw to bite real well. I'm going to take this screw and put it from the back side. You won't even see the head. It's going to go straight from here. I use coarse thread screws all the time. I'll either use a 3/16 or a 9/64 bit when I'm drilling this out. So let me pre-drill it. So I'm just going to take this and drill it to where I see I need to go. Put my screw in and that's it. Make sure you drill this straight. You go from the center and you drill straight. You don't want to have this going on an angle, and you don't want to have it too close to the face. Sometimes I might come a little bit close to the face, but if I look like I'm that way, I'll angle it a little bit back. I'd rather angle back and have it come out the back side than the face. That's when you know you messed up. If you look right here, you see how that style has a 1/4 inch overhang? The front of the cabinet is actually a 1/2 inch wider than the back of the cabinet. And if you take two cabinets and butt them up together, you'll have a 1/2 inch gap right there that you have to take into consideration when you're measuring the back of your cabinet. But right here, we have a 1/4 inch from there, and we have our 1 inch from here. So I'm going to get this measurement, make sure I'm exact, and mark this on the back wall. I take and mark a line 1.25 inches over from the top, the middle, and the bottom. I have my line at 1.25 inches. Now I can use this as a reference point, measure from here to my pipes and get it all lined up. What you're going to do now is eyeball this and get the center of these pipes. They're only a 1/2 inch wide, so it's pretty darn simple to get that eyed up. So I'll get right here and mark a line upward. Okay? Right in the center of my pipe. Same with this one. I can see the center of this pipe. Then I'm going to take and mark a line sideways. 22 7/8. 22 7/8. Mark it clearly on your wall and make sure that this goes with this, and these right here will go straight up and down. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take these measurements from the top. I cannot stress this enough. You always measure from your level line up top. Never measure from your floor. I see guys getting it wrong all the time. They have outlets that are a 1/2 inch off or 1/4 inch off or whatever. And the reason why is they're measuring off the floor and they're not compensating for that distance off the wall. So take this. You get your measurement from the inside of that line down to this line. I'm 13 1/2. I'm going to mark it right by that line, 13 1/2. That way I will not get it confused. This one, set it here. Again, 13 1/2. That's easy. And then I have this one, 16 1/4. I always mark the side of my cabinet that goes against the wall if I'm putting a filler on it or if I'm putting holes in it, of course. You want to make sure you're measuring and marking off the same side or the right side of the cabinet. What I did was I put this back. You'll see I marked an X on it. That was the first thing I did when I saw this cabinet before I even put this filler on it. I mark an X. That way I know that side goes against the wall and I don't have my filler on the wrong side and a hole in the front of my stile. And when I go to measure, all my holes are going to line up. They're not going to be on the opposite side of the cabinet. That's real important. Our next very important step is to take these measurements and transfer them to the back of the cabinet. I always use my ProScribe tape measure by Swanson Tool Company. This tape measure is awesome for this. It's specifically made for marking off lines. It has a guide in it that's built into the tape measure. It's a regular tape. I use it all the time. When I need to mark a line, I pull this button up and the guide comes out. Now I can transfer these marks over to here and get perfect marks really fast without getting splinters in my finger by rubbing my finger along the edge of the wood. My first measurement from this side is 19 1/16. So I'll pull my tape measure out to 19 1/16. Lock it in place. I'll take my 19 1/16 and I'll come down about 13 inches and just mark a line. My next one's 22 7/8. I pull it to that mark, hold my pencil on the end, and it's a little bit lower than the other line. My next one here is 26 3/16. I'll pull it out 26 3/16. Hold my pencil on the end, and that one's roughly the same height as this one. Now I hit my down lines. These next two lines are 13 1/2 down. So I'll put my line here and here. Next we're going to double check it. I'm set at 13 1/2. Put this here, my line's perfect. I'm gonna go over here and measure the wall. Here's my line. I set my tape right on that, and I can put this on the 13.5. I'll push that divot in, and you'll see I'm exactly on it. I'm ready to drill my holes. We double checked it, everything's in line. I don't even have to worry, there's no sweat. Now, let's go ahead and do it. When you drill this hole, you want to put a pilot hole from the back. Make sure my leg's not in front of it. Bring my legs away from it. Here's my hole. My shims are in place. We put those in earlier. So when I set my cabinet, it's going to lay right on top of these shims and be level. All right, we're going to set her in place. Ha ha, sweet. Doesn't get better than that. Listen to this. I tap here. I tap over. You hear that sound? You hear that? I have a stud right here. You have a hollow sound where you don't have a stud. Where you have the stud and it's tight, it's kind of a thumping or a thud. You can't tell that on a lot of houses because you have acoustic on it and everything, but this is a brand new house. You have one layer of paint, one layer of acoustic. So, when you have a situation where you're not sure where the stud is, take this before you put your cabinet back here. Check this line. That's your level line. Go just below that line with a small nail, 6-penny, 8-penny finishing nail. Tap it in. When it goes through the sheetrock and it hits the stud, you're going to feel it. Then you know where your studs are and you can mark them just above the cabinet. You're going to have a countertop on top of that anyway, so you won't see anything. But I still like to do it underneath the cabinet because I don't like people to come in and say, oh, look at this guy, you can't find a stud. Once your cabinets are in it, it doesn't matter. So, you get that all in there, we're ready to put our screws in. This is a 2.5-inch drywall screw. You don't need 2.5, you can use a 2-inch, but I like to use a coarse thread, 2.5s. These are on the base, on the ground, so they're not going to go anywhere anyway. You just want to be able to snug it. And I like a long enough screw because sometimes I may have to put shims back here, the wall may be crooked, and I want to be able to bite into that 2x really well. I mark my stud right here. I know I hit it. Never put screws in your base cabinets down low, especially in a kitchen, bathroom, anywhere where you have plumbing, because your plumbing comes from the floor up and you can hit those pipes. You'll go ahead and mount your cabinet, walk away, come back in here 15 minutes later or 20 minutes later and see water all over. Alright? So just make sure you keep them up high and safe. On the money. That's how you install a vanity sink-based cabinet. There's nothing to it. If you have the right tools, it even makes it easier. Alright, I'll see you on the next project, and don't forget to subscribe.